Joseph Stalin, the man who rose from poverty to rule an empire. Joseph Stalin was born Ioseb Vissarionis ze Juhashvili on 18th of December 1878 in the small town of Gori in Georgia. His father was a shoemaker, his mother a laundress. Life was harsh. His father drank heavily and often beat him, while his mother worked tirelessly to keep him in school. Young Stalin suffered from smallpox at age 7, leaving his face marked for life. An accident later injured his arm, leaving it slightly deformed. These physical scars may have shaped his tough personality. His mother dreamed of him becoming a priest, and he entered a church school. But as a teenager, Stalin discovered the writings of Karl Marx and became fascinated with revolutionary ideas. Soon, he abandoned his religious path and joined underground Marxist groups, setting his life on a dangerous course. By his early 20s, Stalin was a committed Bolshevik part of Vladimir Lenin's revolutionary faction. He organized strikes, printed propaganda, and even took part in bank robberies to fund the party. The Tsarist police arrested him multiple times, exiling him to Siberia. But Stalin had a talent for escape. He managed to flee exile several times, each time returning to revolutionary work. He gained a reputation as a determined, resourceful, and often ruthless activist. It was around this time that he adopted the name Stalin, meaning man of steel. In 1906, Stalin married Kato Svanidze, a kind and gentle woman who brought warmth into his life. They had a son, Yakov, but tragedy struck in 1907. Kato died of typhus at just 22. Heartbroken, Stalin reportedly said, "This creature softened my heart of stone. She is gone, and with her, my last warm feelings for humanity." Stalin threw himself even deeper into revolutionary work. Years later, he married Nadezhda Alliluyeva, with whom he had 2 children, Vasily and Svetlana. But their marriage was troubled. Nadezhda often clashed with Stalin's harsh personality and political methods. In 1932, she died under mysterious circumstances, officially ruled a suicide. But some believe there was more to the story. Stalin also had several affairs during his life, and his relationships were often shaped by power and secrecy. The Russian Revolution of 1917 changed everything. Lenin and the Bolsheviks seized power, and Stalin was rewarded with key positions in the new Soviet government. In 1922, Stalin became General Secretary of the Communist Party, a role that seemed administrative, but allowed him to quietly place loyal allies into important positions. When Lenin died in 1924, Stalin outmaneuvered rivals like Leon Trotsky, using political cunning, propaganda, and backroom deals to secure control. By the late 1920s, Stalin was the undisputed leader of the Soviet Union. Once in power, Stalin launched massive changes. He introduced 5-year plans to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union. Cities grew, factories multiplied, and the country's economy transformed. But this progress came at a brutal cost. Stalin forced the collectivization of farms, taking land from peasants to create state-run farms. Millions resisted, and millions died in the famine that followed, especially in Ukraine, in what became known as the Holodomor. Political opponents, or anyone Stalin saw as a threat, were targeted in the Great Purge of the 1930s. Secret police arrested millions. Many were executed, others sent to labor camps in Siberia. Even loyal supporters lived in fear. knowing that at any moment they could be accused of treason. In 1939, Stalin shocked the world by signing a non-aggression pact with Adolf Hitler. But in June 1941, Germany broke the pact and invaded the Soviet Union. The war was catastrophic. Millions of Soviet soldiers and civilians died, but Stalin refused to surrender. He rallied the nation with fierce speeches, ordered desperate defenses of cities, and eventually pushed the German army back. In 1945, Soviet forces captured Berlin. Stalin emerged as one of the victors of World War II, and his power reached new heights. One of the most shocking wartime stories involves Stalin's own son, Yakov. Captured by the Germans in 1941, Yakov became a high-profile prisoner. The Nazis offered to exchange him for a captured German general, but Stalin refused, saying, "I will not trade a marshal for a lieutenant. War is war." Yakov later died in captivity, possibly shot while trying to escape, or by throwing himself against an electric fence. Behind the walls of the Kremlin, Stalin lived a life of strict control and suspicion. He worked late into the night, slept during the day, and kept his private life secret. He enjoyed films, reading, and occasionally hosting drinking parties with close allies, though even these gatherings could turn dangerous if someone displeased him. His children lived under his shadow. Vasily, his son, became an Air Force officer, but struggled with alcoholism. His daughter, Svetlana, later defected to the West, revealing the cold, controlling nature of her father. After World War II, Stalin focused on rebuilding the Soviet Union and expanding its influence. Eastern Europe fell under Soviet control, and the world entered the era of the Cold War. Stalin presented himself as the defender of socialism against the capitalist West. Inside the Soviet Union, life remained harsh. The secret police kept tight control. Dissent was crushed, and shortages were common. Yet, many credited Stalin with turning a poor, rural country into a global superpower. By the early 1950s, Stalin was in his 70s, still ruling with an iron hand, but his health was failing, and paranoia grew. He suspected plots against him, even from his closest allies. On the 1st of March 1953, Stalin suffered a stroke at his dacha near Moscow. His guards were too afraid to enter his room immediately, fearing punishment if they disturbed him without orders. He lay there for hours before receiving medical help. Joseph Stalin died on the 5th of March 1953, at the age of 74. His death brought both grief and relief. Grief for those who saw him as the savior of the Soviet Union, relief for those who had lived in constant fear. Joseph Stalin forged a superpower, but his rule left fear, suffering, and a legacy that still echoes today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us grow. Thanks for watching.